Welcome to E Squared Emporium for all things AP Psychology. Today we'll be looking at sleep and dreams. So we start with the three levels of consciousness. So there's what you are aware of, what we have in our waking reality, which notice is only about 5% of the iceberg. That's our conscious. The subconscious is the information that we're not actively aware of in the moment, but it's working under there and it's causing us to sometimes have reactions. And the unconscious, the unaware, our hidden drives, why we do things, our real motivation. Freud is going to say this is where our dreams come from. So these are all the parts of the iceberg that we don't see. And if you don't think those parts are important, ask the Titanic which parts of the iceberg were the most important, the parts that you could see or the parts that you couldn't see. So we're going to talk about biological rhythms, specifically the circadian rhythm. We have lots of rhythms. Women are on a 28-day cycle. We have a 24-hour cycle. We have a 90-minute cycle for sleep, and we have a bicycle. No, don't write that one down. The circadian rhythm is the one we're really focused on here in this chapter. This is our natural internal process that helps us with the sleep and wake cycle. It repeats roughly every 24 hours. It's 24 hours and a couple of minutes. So the pineal gland, which we've already discussed, and the hypothalamus, which we've already discussed, they work with the photoreceptors. They work with light and dark. This is part of why it's an issue if we go to sleep with our cell phones near our bed. If you have too much light in your room, even sometimes a night light, but right now we all have difficulty keeping our iPads, our devices, our Chromebooks, and our cell phones out of the bedroom. And just the tiniest little bit of light will wake up the pineal gland and send the wrong signals. Even going into a really, really bright bathroom at night to brush our teeth, it actually wakes up the pineal gland. So let's look at this chart for just a second. Let's start when the melatonin release starts, and that's around 11 o'clock at night. So we should be asleep somewhere between 10 and 11 o'clock at night. I know you're laughing when I say that because you're probably not getting into bed till about 2 o'clock in the morning. You should be limiting your technology use at least an hour before you go to bed. So say 9 or 10 o'clock at night. And then melatonin will be released all through the night. It helps you sleep. But notice by 7 a.m., the melatonin release stops. That helps us to wake up, and that is the time to go to work or go to school. You start your day by getting some sunlight, and the sun coming into the light receptors, the photoreceptors, will tell the pineal gland and the hypothalamus that it's daytime and it's time for us to wake up. So notice we should start limiting caffeine also by 5 o'clock. We shouldn't be doing any more caffeine after that. Start dimming your lights by 8 o'clock. Now, Harvard actually did a study that technically we are on the Martian cycle. The Mars cycle has a circadian rhythm of 25 hours, and the human body actually seems to have regulated to a natural circadian rhythm of about 25 hours. It's 24 and a few minutes. So Harvard's trying to figure out why we have a cycle that matches Mars more than Earth. So sleep is the state of consciousness. We are less aware of our surroundings when we are in sleep. The brain is going to go through 4 distinct stages plus REM. So sleep is one of our states of consciousness. And by the way, if you get sleepy when we're talking about this subject of sleep, that's actually totally normal. So again, here we see some stages of sleep. We have wakefulness, then we have the different stages of sleep, and beyond that we have a coma, where there's no responses. Melatonin is a hormone. We've already discussed it, but here's where it really comes into play. It's a naturally occurring hormone. It is found in most plants and animals and humans. It's released by the pineal gland in the brain at night, and that's where we want to make sure that the light signals are allowing this hormone to be released to help us sleep. It is associated with the control of the sleep-wake cycle. Now, you can buy melatonin supplements, but you want to be careful with that because sometimes the body will stop producing your own natural supply of melatonin if you're over supplementing. All right, suprachiasmatic nucleus. We need to practice saying that. Suprachiasmatic nucleus, known as the SCN system. Basically, it's a part of the hypothalamus, which we already know. But this is a very specific part of the hypothalamus that helps to control our circadian rhythm, and it's the part that is influenced by light. We refer to this part of the brain. You can see the image there. It's buried within the hypothalamus. It's known as the master clock because it helps us to stay on target with sleeping and waking. Now, there's a lot of other parts of the brain that are also involved, but we're really focused on this one. So there's the hypothalamus, the hippocampus, which we may have memory. We'll talk about the hippocampus more with memories and dreaming. The amygdala may be involved, the thalamus may be involved, the reticular formation, and the pons. We remember pons because it helps to initiate REM sleep. So let's talk about when this gets messed up. Now, prior to the Industrial Revolution, we had to go to sleep when the sun went down, or we went inside and we might have candles, but we didn't burn candles all night long. We would pretty much blow the candles out an hour or two after it got dark. We would wake up with the sun, we would go to sleep with the sun. That is actually the way that our body is designed to work. Our stomach stops digesting food as soon as it's dark outside and the sun goes down, which is why we shouldn't be late night snacking. And our digestive system wakes back up again as soon as it sees light in the morning. But what about people who have to work different types of hours? The Industrial Revolution meant that we could work 24 hours a day. We could have first shift, second shift, third shift. We could have lights on all the time. The production never stops. The manufacturing never stops. And so studies have been done on airline pilots. Studies have been done on hospital staff. Doctors may be working 16-hour shifts. People who work the night shift, what we call the graveyard shift, all of these people have difficulty with their sleep cycles. You get inadequate sleep. You've disrupted your circadian rhythms. We now have compromised attention and compromised safety. We see a lot of traffic accidents, people falling asleep on the road, truck drivers sometimes if they try to drive all night. For airline pilots and stewardesses, we call this jet lag. You could be in several time zones within just a matter of days. You could be in Europe and then in California and then in New York. You could be leaving late at night, arriving early in the morning. Hospital staff, so all kinds of problems that occur from this. It does take a toll on our health. Twilight sleep is that feeling when sleep is just about to take over. You start to experience alpha waves. This is what happens when maybe you fall asleep at school and you kind of catch yourself at your desk, or you're on the couch and you think you can make it through one more show, but you kind of fall asleep and you kind of like jolt yourself awake. You get a feeling of falling, like someone's pulling you off the couch. You could get mild hallucinations. You might hear somebody calling your name. You might feel like, somebody, touched you or shouted or something. You just get these weird hallucinations. Serotonin is being released during twilight sleep as well as the beginning of melatonin. So stages 1 through 4 are what we call NREM. NREM is non-REM, non-rapid eye movement sleep. So there's REM and NREM. So 80% of the sleep that you get at night is NREM. The body is getting rejuvenated. The brain chemicals are getting replenished, your neurotransmitters. This tells the body to produce body hair, and cell growth and cell repair all happens during non-REM. So stage 1, you're kind of awake, you're kind of asleep. It only lasts a few minutes. You usually only experience it once a night unless you get up to go to the restroom or something. You only go through stage 1 once. Your brain produces theta waves. Those are slow, irregular waves, but you could still be awakened when the telephone rings. And of course, we always lie, right? Somebody will say, "Hey, did I wake you?" And you're like, "No, no, man, I was wide awake." No, you weren't. You were in stage one sleep. Stage two, we have more theta waves, and you're progressively getting slower. You begin to show sleep spindles on an EEG machine. These are the short bursts of rapid brain waves that you see here. And we call these K complexes, the sharp rise and drop that you see on an EEG. Now, also during stage two, you get hypnagogic sensations. What are those? Those are kind of like hallucinations. They are false perceptions. They occur as you're starting to fall asleep or you're in this hypnagogic state of stage two. They could be visual. You could see lights flashing. You can see faces or people, some, maybe like ghost-like figures. Somatic sensations, which is your body. You could feel weightless. You could feel like you're flying. You could feel like you're falling. You can feel like somebody else is in the room, which is kind of freaky. Auditory sensations, you hear voices. Somebody is calling your name. They're whispering or they're shouting. Or you hear like an animal sound and you're like, that was so weird, and nobody else in the house heard it. Or other distorted perceptions of time and space, and you're very suggestible at this time. Stage three is also non-REM. It's the transition between two and four. You begin to show slow delta waves. It's really difficult to wake somebody up at this point. They won't respond to lights or noise. Maybe you need 2 alarm clocks at this point. Your heart rate, your blood pressure, your temperature all continue to drop. So teenagers spend more time in deep sleep, stages 3 and 4. This is where your growth hormone is secreted. This is why you need more sleep and you need more deep sleep. Stage 4 is really our deepest sleep, and we have very slow delta waves. Your heart rate, your breathing, your blood pressure, your temperature are all at the lowest that they will be for the evening. It is very difficult to awaken the sleeper here. You're going to be very groggy and unable to function. And sometimes we're in this stage when our alarm goes off in the morning. Maybe we didn't completely finish a cycle, and this is why some mornings it's harder for us to get going and requires more coffee or more whatever it is to get going. So this is where sleepwalking, sleep talking, and bedwetting will all occur at this stage, which we'll talk about. So REM is a paradoxical form of sleep. What do we mean by that? REM sleep, the brain is very, very active. The brain is active like a hummingbird. It seems more active than when we're actually awake during the day, but the body is basically paralyzed. Now, you might have a little bit of twitching of the face or the fingers. You might see a little bit of movement under the eyelids, but basically the large muscles, the ACH in the large muscles, it's paralyzed. And if you are suddenly awoken in this stage, it can be a little freaky if you can't move your body. But the eyes can be moving rapidly. Now the heart rate accelerates, the blood pressure goes up, the breathing can go up and down and be very variable. So that's why we say REM is paradoxical. So again, REM sleep, most of our dreams occur in REM. And our dreams are actually only about 10 minutes. I know they feel like they've lasted for hours. You think you've been chased by a monster for hours. It's been 10 to 20 minutes. So people could recall their dreams when you wake them up from REM 83% of the time. Now, newborn babies spend half of their time, 50% of their time asleep in REM. Isn't that nice to be a newborn baby? But from the age of 2 onwards, you spend less. You spend 25% of your sleep in REM. So here's what the sleep cycle looks like. So after stage 3 to 4 of non-REM, we go into REM. We stay in REM for about 10 minutes. We bounce back out. We start at the lightest only about stage 2. We rarely go back to stage 1. We go progressively deeper. We spend about 2 hours per night total in REM, 10 minutes at a time. You can see the cycle here. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, REM. 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, REM. So that's typically how it goes. So your cycles of non-REM and REM last about 90 minutes. So what does that mean for you? Well, if the cycles last for 90 minutes, you need 4 to 5 full cycles of REM every night. So that's a minimum of 6 hours of sleep. 7 to 8 hours is better to make sure you get your REM sleep. So if you're not going to bed till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, you're barely getting 2 cycles of REM per night, and that's why you're so exhausted. And what can happen is REM rebound. When people, like AP students who are sleep deprived, when people are kept from getting enough REM sleep, either at their jobs or by school or college, and then suddenly you have time to go to sleep, like maybe it's the weekend, you go right into REM and your REM sleep will double because your sleep banks are empty. Your sleep banks are totally empty and deprived, and you need to refill them. You need to recharge. It's like when the cell phone battery is dead, and you need to like charge it twice as long in order to get it full again. This is what the brain waves look like. I gave you this chart so you can see the beta waves, the alpha waves, the delta waves. You can see all the different waves here. And how do we measure sleep? Again, we measure sleep with an EEG machine. So you put the little electrodes right up against the scalp, and we can see the patterns of electrical activity. So if you're going into a sleep study or sleep apnea study, that's what they're going to do to measure. Let's quickly and briefly talk about the psychology of dreams. A couple fun facts about dreams. Um, your dreams are a sequence of images, emotions, and thoughts. Color dreams occur 50% of the time. So 50% of our dreams are black and white, 50% of our dreams are color. Researchers have tried to change that. They had people wear colored glasses for a week to see if it would change how much of their dreams were color, and it did not. So men, women, babies, and even blind people dream. Even animals dream. How do we know that? Well, gorillas can actually use sign language. So gorillas have been able to sign their sleep pictures, which we interpret as dreams. Men tend to dream about more aggressive things, more fighting, more chasing than women. Women have slightly longer dreams, and women tend to have more characters, more people, more soap operas in their dreams. People usually have several dreams each night, even though you might not remember them. Each dream lasts between 5 to 20 minutes, and during a lifetime, you spend an average of 6 years dreaming. Imagine that 6 of your precious years are spent dreaming. 95% of our dreams are quickly forgotten right after waking. So some people will say to me, I never remember my dreams. Well, that's kind of common. Brain scans show that the frontal lobes, which are used in memory formation, are not active during REM sleep when dreaming occurs. So if you don't have your hippocampus and you don't have your memory portions of your brain activated when you're sleeping, then you're not going to remember what happened when you were sleeping. The most common emotion that we experience in dreams is anxiety. We're kind of working out our anxiety from the day. Negative emotions in our dreams are far more common than positive ones. So let's get into our dream analysis. We haven't talked about Freud yet, but Freud is kind of the father of psychoanalysis, and we're going to talk about Freud a lot. He used dreams to gain insight into the unconscious mind. Remember that part of the iceberg that you don't have access to, but you do when you're sleeping, according to Freud. So he would break a dream down into two parts. The manifest content is the storyline of the dream if we just take it exactly at face value. I dreamt I was at a mall. I dreamt that I was shopping. So the manifest content would be I need to go to the mall and I need to go shopping. The latent content is the underlying unconscious part of the dream. What's really happening? What are you burying? What do you not want to deal with? What is hidden? What are the symbols that need to be unpacked and interpreted? So let's look at an example here. If you dreamt that you were in a car and you were going down a hill and the brakes were failing and you were screaming and there were no brakes and you couldn't get the car to stop no matter what you did. Well, manifest would be, hey, maybe you need to get your brakes checked. Maybe your brakes actually do need to be repaired in your car. The latent content would be, maybe your life is out of control. Maybe you feel helpless about something of your life and it's racing faster than you can keep up with it. It could be a relationship, it could be a problem at work or at school, and your life is out of control. You need to slow down, you need to hit the brakes, you need to pause because it's about to get really rocky and you can't control all of the things that are happening, or you're feeling really out of control with all the things that are happening. So that's how we look at manifest and latent. Now you can write down a recent dream, and I will post all the different tips and techniques where we can analyze your dreams. And you can actually go through the dream analysis slides and you can maybe figure out what a recent dream means that you've had. Let's quickly look at your dream theories. There are four major dream theories. Again, Freud, we just talked about Freud. He believes that this is wish fulfillment, that the dreams, we're having a psychic safety valve, in other words. It is a chance to express our unacceptable feelings. It is a chance to talk about or think about things with a hidden meaning. The latent meaning is what he thinks is happening in our dreams. So you dream about having a fight with your boss, and maybe it's a safe way for you to tell your boss how you really think or feel. You dream again about the car, and it's giving you a hint. You dream that you forgot all of your clothes that day, and maybe it's telling you that you're feeling too vulnerable and you need to have a little bit more protection. So it's a latent meaning, or it's fulfilling a wish. It's something that we wish we could have. And so we're having it in our dreams because in our dreams, it's safe. That's one theory. The next theory is information processing, which is literally processing information. It's also a way to consolidate our memories from the day. Have you ever noticed that the things that happen during your day sometimes pop up in your dreams? You had a Jersey Mike sub and somehow it's in your dreams, right? You talked about a whale with somebody and somehow there's a whale in your dreams. So the dreams help us to sort out all the events that happen in the day, and they help us to take all the memories and consolidate them. Now, there's a little bit of problem with that if the memory part of our brain isn't lighting up in brain scans, but that's another issue. The physiological function, physiological means biological, it means body. So physiological means body function. In this case, we're talking about brain. So brain stimulation from REM sleep may help develop and preserve our neural pathways. So having these brain thoughts, these dreams may actually help us. We call them engrams, actually, engrams, engrams in the brain. Those are the neural pathways. And so maybe the REM sleep is actually helping us to clean up our neurons, develop more pathways, strengthen the pathways, and create new pathways while we're sleeping. And the last one is neural activation. It's most often known as activation synthesis, but it's really activating the neurons again. So REM sleep triggers neural activity and it evokes random visual memories, which our sleeping brain weaves into a story so that Jersey Mike sub becomes the whale and somehow it becomes a whole story in our brain. So that's activation synthesis. Let's look at that one a little bit deeper. So Hobson and McCarley came up with the activation synthesis theory, and they're from Harvard. And so dreaming results in the brain's attempt to make sense of all that activity that's taking place. And so the brain stem is activated. And once these circuits are activated, the limbic system becomes activated, which now brings in our emotions. And now, according to this theory, it does pull in the part of the hippocampus which contains our memories. Amygdala, we know, is anger and fear, so that might explain why we're having fights and chase scenes and all of this stuff going on in our dreams. So the brain is synthesizing and interpreting all of this activity. It's trying to create meaning from symbols and signals. And here's a visual interpretation of it. So we have all this illogical content, right? It's a flying Pegasus drinking a Jamba Juice. It's very illogical. But we accept the strangeness. We're having odd sensory experiences. and we're having really intense emotions about things we didn't even know we were feeling intense about. And then we wake up and we can't quite remember all of those things that happened. And it doesn't make any sense. We try to explain about the purple Pegasus drinking the Jamba Juice. It makes no sense. Or taking a ride on the whale makes no sense to us. So those are the theories. We're still debating which theory we think is the strongest theory, but there's sort of four activating theories right now for dream analysis. And now you are prepared for class, but wait because we will do the rest together.